In this segment, Stephanie Miller and Bob Cessa talk all things Trump, his lack of any contrition, his pledging to pardon insurrectionists, support of Putin and a federal ban on abortions, and a litany of lies too numerous to count. Between this, his legal baggage, and more, he still amazingly is the GOP frontrunner. For more, here's Stephanie.
Technically not losing yet, but at least the latest Washington Post ABC News poll.
Yes.
That's something. That's a junk poll, by the way.
Yes,
that poll
by
was
the
terrible.
way, Bob, I'm glad you brought that up. Rachel Bittercoffer, who I know you've done a fabulous interview show with her, I think many times actually.
Yeah,
but,
she's the best. Yep.
Yeah, she tweeted, Bob Cesca, best interviewer in the business, just FYI.
Right.
Bob Cesca show. Yeah. Okay. She said, good thing Barack Obama didn't listen to the smart people who told him not to run for re-election because he lost 63 House seats in the 2010 midterms and was polling like S. She shows the graph. He was in the 30s. Yeah. I mean, it was the same thing, Bob. You're absolutely right. There's a great piece in the LA Times by Kurt Bardella who said the same thing, that just do not panic. But anyway, go ahead. What were you going to say about it?
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to keep in mind, especially with the polls lately. Jody said it best yesterday on your show about how, most of the polls have been wrong. I mean, that's been kind of the hallmark of the last several major elections, at least.
Yeah.
And on top of that, what you're talking about in terms of
look at all the headlines around the midterms. I mean, everybody predicting a red wave and blah, 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 right?
Oh, yes. And then beyond that, you have to break these things down by state because we have something called the Electoral College. So national polls really don't matter, especially this far out, too, because you have a lot of people who just simply don't follow politics the way we do with our faces pressed up against our computer screens all day long. So a lot of people are just basing their answers on the first name that pops into their head or some form of name recognition. And so that kind of skews the polls as well. So it's kind of worthless to look at any national polls. I mean, if it were a year from now, I'd be a little bit more worried about that particular poll, the Washington Post poll. But
and also they're like, all of this only helps Trump. It's like, well, only the rubes that are still going to give him money because he's apparently the victim again in the E. Jean Carroll case, right? I mean, it's that's such a small and dwindling percentage of people, you know.
Exactly. There's definitely a ceiling on Trump's support, and he may have already hit that ceiling, so he's not going to be able to bleed any more people over to him. In fact, I think the more and more of these stories that pop up with regards to criminal indictments and being found liable for sexual abuse, this is going to scare away swing voters and independent voters. I'm pretty confident of that. So that's the upside.
You tweeted about did your video on the, you said Trump's train wreck deposition in the E. Jean Carroll case is the stupid Trump thing of the week. Yeah. I mean, he really was like Robbie Kaplan, the attorney, said he was the best witness against himself. I mean, it's extraordinary. As you always say, the Bob Cesca rule, Trump always makes things worse for Trump, right?
Yes, he does. Yeah, He's always getting himself into this trap where he wants to portray himself as being strong. He's always got to be very, very, very strong. He doesn't want to look weak. And so consequently, by looking strong, he's also kind of screwing himself in his deposition by, being a pain in the neck and insulting the attorneys.
Had to double down on Access Hollywood, just triple down on it. I mean, it's just, well, as Billy West said, he does look like Richard Nixon turning into the Hulk. He's in mid Hulk. You speaking of the polling, etc. You retweeted Aaron Rupart said absolutely insane when you consider Trump presided over a loss of 3 million jobs while Biden presided over the addition of 12 million. And yes, COVID impacted those numbers, but Trump did a horrendous job managing the pandemic. He's to blame for that. You just said plus there was a manufacturing recession in 2019. Trump's tax bill added $2 trillion to the debt. All of this happened before the pandemic when his incompetence led to a massive economic crash. But gas is $3.50 now, so none of that matters. I mean, you were just reacting initially to this poll, but I agree with you. It's just don't freak out over. As you know, Kurt Bardella was a Republican and and a pollster as well, and he just wrote a piece saying why Biden's really bad approval ratings don't matter. I mean, first of all, I guess what his point is, we've just gotten so reflexively partisan. He said no president is ever going to get above we're past the above 50% approval ratings anymore. But as you said, go ahead.
Well, plus how the news media is framing the economy is not helping at all. When we have near full employment, I mean,
Yeah.
the closest to full employment that we've ever seen in our lifetimes. And
3.4.
so the story, instead of, oh my God, this is amazing, we have
Yeah.
near full, everyone who wants a job has a job. It's an incredible thing. Thank you, Joe Biden. Instead of saying that, what we're hearing is, oh my God, there's a labor shortage. Oh my God, start renting your garments. There's not enough workers for the jobs that are available. What are we going to do? And so
Yeah.
suddenly the fact that we have near full employment becomes its own drama and its own crisis.
Yeah.
And that's the desire for some factions of the news media to frame everything with that dramatic, if it bleeds, it leads kind of framing. And
Yeah.
that's what's, I think, in a lot of ways, skewing people's opinions
Well-
away from embracing the idea that Joe Biden has an enormously successful economic record so far.
Exhibit fact checking Greg Abbott, as Governor Newsom did out here. You said Greg Abbott lied when he said California has more gun deaths than Texas, implying that states with gun control laws are more dangerous than Texas. Wrong. The CDC's most recent numbers show Texas with 15.6 gun deaths per thousand. California is 9 per 100,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does
he really thinks people don't get that there's 40 million people in California and you can't? I mean, it's just it's so. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a lot of fudging of statistics and fudging of history and constitutional law in order to basically just say, let us have our hobby. We deserve to be able to have our little collections. We deserve to stockpile our arsenals, for in the event that the FBI is going to come barging through our door. We want to be able to fire back, as though that has ever worked out well for anyone.